All right, welcome to the W2W Midseason Report live show. I am the Knight, and joining me from his LA studios, as always, is the Raider Pirate. What's up, Pirate?
What's going on, Raider Nation?
All right, Raider Nation. Tonight we're going to do a midseason report. We got me, we got the Pirate, and we also got a special guest with us tonight. He goes by Carolina Raider. He's also a sports writer for the Last Word on Sports. Carolina, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, how you two gentlemen doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Man, we excited or what?
No, we're definitely excited. We're definitely excited.
Okay, let's go. We're gonna move into our Facebook portion as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire up Facebook. That's probably gonna take 10 to 15 seconds for us to get some people coming on. So
okay.
All right, folks, we are going live right now. We are going to be talking about the Raiders, how they're doing so far this season. We are 7-2, a little bit past the midway point. So we're going to give you guys a few minutes to kind of log on. We're also simultaneously logged into YouTube, so you can watch us live there as well. We have a simultaneous feed going on, so you're going to hear some of the guys on the other side, and in a little bit I'll flip the camera so that you guys can see the guys that are talking as well. But for right now, if you have any comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section, and then we'll get back to you. So right now, I'm Raider Pirate. The Oakland Knight is also on the other side, my co-host for the Will to Win, our daily show on YouTube, and we've got Carolina Raider fan who's joining us as well. So we're going to talk a little bit of midseason football. Oakland Knight, I'm going to go ahead and hand it on over back to you.
All right, what's going on, Facebook family? Thank you and welcome to the show. So we got our YouTube family, we got our Facebook family, and we are ready to rock and roll with this thing. So like we started off saying, the Raiders are 7-2 heading into their bye. Now, we did have a game starting the second quarter, but this is really our midseason point because we're on a bye. We're regrouping. We're getting ready to make our final run, which is going to be 7 games. So we thought it would be a great thing to jump on and actually talk the first half of the season and kind of our thoughts and how we saw this process get started. So we have Carolina Raider fan with us to kind of help us get through this discussion. So I'm going to start with you, Carolina. What could you tell us what you, in short and brief terms, how you felt from week 1 to week 9 after beating the Broncos?
Ooh, man. In just a short term?
Well, yeah, you don't have to go game by game, but, in brief, from what we saw from week 1 to week 9.
I saw the consistency of the will to win. That's what I saw.
Nice phrase.
This team has found a way to win, no matter what. I mean, whether it's riverboat jack gambling on 4th down to get us a touchdown, whether we're winning in overtime, whether our defense is coming up and smashing somebody. Game, but we've won in so many different ways, and then of course the ground game just basically bulldozed Denver last week. So this team can win any way it wants to. I mean, it's shown its ability to just beat whoever they want to. I mean, that's what we've learned.
No, absolutely.
If you take a look at it, I mean, there's been a lot of things that have gone on with this football team over the course of those 7 weeks. I mean, there was, all the expectation of what we had going on. Everybody was excited. We knew we were going to have a good offense. We knew we were going to have, we envisioned we were going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL. We came out in week 1, struggled a little bit, but Jack Del Rio threw it all on the table. Riverboat gambled, got us the win. That in itself was a super exciting game. Little did we know most of the games were going to go down that way. The offense stalled in some games. The defense kind of started to get a little bit better. There's been some adjustments, and then we showed an extremely powerful ground game going into this last football game, which again was a Sunday night showdown. What are your thoughts, Carolina? I mean, what, in your opinion, going through this season so far, the games that we've played, what is the one thing, if you could pick out one thing that stood out to you the most?
I think that obviously we thought we were going to have a good offense, and we do. our offensive line is stepping up and just smashing people now. Just like people need time to gel the offensive line. Plus, we've been having a revolving door at the right tackle. It's doing its thing. But the biggest thing that I'm seeing since we've gotten Riley and put the green dot on his helmet, our defense has done an about face and has been absolutely punishing people. The more he gets familiar with how this defense runs, the better it is running. I mean, you take away 2 plays. Now, there's 2 plays against Denver, and they only got half the yards, basically. I mean, you had the big screen play, and then you had the brain fart by Joseph on the other touchdown. Those are both touchdowns. The screen play was what, 8-yard touchdown. The play to Norwood was, half the field. You take away those 2 plays, and you're looking at 150 yards given up or 160 yards given up. And we're talking smash mouth defense against a team that wants to run the ball, and against team. And people say, hey, he's not a great quarterback and he's young and this, that, and the other. I get that, and we put a lot of pressure on him. But the kid showed he's got a laser arm. I mean, when Norwood got open, but he struck him with Mac in his face. So I mean, the kid wasn't bad. He just has no offensive line. But man, that defense, Riley is the key. Another pickup by Reggie, just and Jack saying, hey, Washington, give us your tire, give us your home, give us your poor, just give us your players. The big Washington Redskins have, for the 2nd year in a row, become our farm team.
And that's a good point, brother, because when you look at the linebacker position, when we were headed in, we had Ben Heaney, who we thought was going to be the emerging star, and he struggled a lot, very undersized, not ready to take on the big offensive linemen and fullbacks coming out of the backfield. So that was one of our biggest weaknesses in the middle, and we still have some issues that are going on as far as coverage goes on tight ends, but bringing Riley in really solidified some experience in the middle, a guy that could really fill gaps, get off blocks, and kind of help everybody else around him, like you were saying, kind of raised up their game and kind of really set us forward, especially stopping the run. I will say that the run game, our run defense has much improved over the course of the last 3 to 4 weeks. So with that being said, too, let's go ahead, since we're touching on the defensive side of the ball. We added Perry Riley Jr., and we're just got done talking about what kind of impact he's had on this football team. Coming up within the next 2 weeks, we should be having Mario Edwards Jr. back in the lineup, hopefully going up against Houston, as well as a potential return of Aldon Smith. What kind of impact do you think that's going to have for this defense now that we have a middle linebacker, we got some corners, and our pass rush is starting to come alive?
I believe that you're going to see them gently slipped in. I mean, you're talking about, right now we're getting good performance from Ward. Latham, my goodness, has he just shown some moves. If anybody wants to check it out, Raider Analytics, they do a great breakdown, and Latham looked fantastic against Denver. So you're going to see Smith and Edwards come in, but they're going to be eased in. They're not going to be NFL speed ready on week 11. So I would expect, based on how kind of played out last year with Smith coming in late and everything like that, it's going to take about 3 to 4 games. Hopefully they'll be ready to go when we waltz into KC and stomp the Chiefs in Arrowhead, which I believe is going to happen. But hopefully they'll be ready by then, and they'll just keep getting better as we get closer to the playoffs, because this is a playoff team, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of different things. Hang on here. We're going to be bringing in another guest that's coming up here too. Let me just get a couple of things going on here. You guys go ahead and continue.
No, okay. Yeah, just to kind of touch base on that too. It's going to take Aldon Smith a little bit to get football ready. We've seen some pictures in an interview he did when he was at the Warriors game, where this guy, obviously, as far as his physical condition, this guy is in shape. He's all ripped. It looks like he's been taking care of himself while he was in rehab. And even though it's going to take a while to maybe implement him as a 4-down linebacker, I believe that as soon as he's reinstated, kind of like we did last year when we brought him on, he could definitely be a 3rd-down piece we roll in on 3rd and longs that we could line up Mario Edwards Jr., Bruce Irvin, and have Aldon Smith come over the top as well. So I think we could actually see him early on and make an impact, especially with the return of Mario Edwards Jr., creating havoc in the middle, along with a guy that you mentioned, Latham and Ward, who really stepped up their game. What was your thoughts last week, Carolina? How do you think TJ Carey did with his first start, starting on the outside?
Oh, I think it was pretty good. I don't have a whole lot to criticize Carey about last week. I think both DJ and Carey looked good out there, and we couldn't have gotten a better performance from those kids. I mean, DJ got the Hollywood acting PI just like he got against the Saints. But other than that, they were pretty locked down. They're making tackles. They're not getting beat. I mean, like I said, other than 2 plays, our defense as a whole was locked down. I mean, we were just you had that marriage of coverage and pressure. That's why Matt got 2 sacks and was close to getting a third one, almost a hat trick. I mean, and they were just barely beaten. Like Latham almost got in there. Irvin almost got in there. So when you're seeing that kind of pressure get there, that means you got coverage, especially when Seaman's just throwing the ball away. I mean, he even got a pass interference. I mean, a grounding penalty for throwing the ball away. When you see those kind of things, that means your coverage is doing its job. And Carey did his job.
Very much so.
All right, let me pop in here for a second. All right, for all you guys on Facebook Live there, why don't you guys give us a quick shout out? Those of you that are watching, where are you guys watching from? So go ahead. And then there's a good question. Taking a look at what the pundits have been saying right now, Patriots #1, Raiders #2. A lot of people have been saying the same thing that we've been saying. Once the Raiders run up into the playoffs against a team like the Patriots or the Steelers, how is this defense, going to hold up against those types of teams? Grant W. Girl from Queens, California. The question is, if this football team runs the ball and plays the way that they played in this game, do you think this team is good enough, in your guys' opinion, to be able to beat a team like the Patriots in Foxborough or the Steelers? But the Steelers will obviously have to come to us. So we got a few people coming on here. Donnie from Alabama. What's up, Raider Nation? Tucson, Arizona. Noel Bachman, James Derrick from Muskogee, Oklahoma, and then Selena K. Allen from Grayville, Alabama. Guys, we're going to go ahead and put the phone lines up here pretty quick, and after we're done talking, you guys can call in and ask us a question, ask Carolina Raider a question, or just give us your thoughts and your opinions on where we are at this point. Levi is tribal from deep in the heart of Texas. You guys can go ahead and let us know questions that you guys want to ask, and we can kind of go from there. We're being joined right now by a fantasy football analyst also who has a show called The Fantasy Couch. We're going to get into that in a minute, and I'm not quite sure. I think it's Hussey in the Brain. Is that how we pronounce that?
Hussein the Brain.
Hussein the Brain?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. 49er fan, but he's also a fantasy football guy. So if you guys got fantasy football questions, you can ask that too. But here's what we're going to ask. We want our female Raider fans to have a voice out there. We see you guys giving thumbs up, hearts, doing all those different types of things. But we're really looking for an educated female fan to go ahead and call in, ask a question, or give us her take. So once again, I'm going to send the question back to these 3 guys. The question is this. With the way that the Raiders played in Denver, strong running game, big offensive line, eating up time of possession, can they hide that defense late in January against a team like the Patriots in the snow, or potentially the Steelers in Oakland? And time is going to tell if we're able to put some back-to-back games together in Oakland. But is this team good enough to do that? So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Jason. We'll move on to Hussey, and then we'll go to Carolina.
Absolutely. All right. Once again, I want to send a big shout out to everybody that's watching here on YouTube, as well as on our Facebook fans over there on Oakland Raider Football. Much love to you guys. Okay, to answer that question, I believe the tell is in front of us, right? You saw how we came out in the first 2 weeks of the season versus the Saints and the Falcons, historically bad, right? It was much talked about. But you saw Jack kind of take over the reins. It's been highly speculated. If you saw some of the footage from last week's game, it showed Ken Norton on the sideline pumping up the crowd, but he wasn't saying anything in the microphone, which just leads me, I'm speculating here, there's no facts to this yet, but Jack Del Rio seems like he's calling it a defensive plays. Now, he's really got these guys understanding and playing better defense, and we just got done, me and Carolina just got done talking about the emergence of Perry Riley Jr. in the middle with the green sticker, really kind of bringing that experience and helping this defense along. And we also just got done talking about adding Mario Edwards Jr. back to the roster, as well as potentially getting back Alden Smith. So as you see week after week, even if you go back to Jacksonville, the way they played in Tampa, and the way they really handled business at home versus Denver, this is a team that since week 1 till now has gradually gotten better, even if it's by the smallest of margins. And now we're getting some added great pieces back. They're starting to gel. I believe by the time we hit into the playoffs, it might not be like we talked about, it might not be that great shutdown defense that we thought we were going to be at the beginning of the season, but we're going to be good enough. This offense is very explosive. It really takes care of us on the back end, getting points on the board. I think this defense can handle, even with giving up. We've seen it this year. We can give up points and still win games, and they're going to get better. So I think it's promising moving forward.
All right. Husi?
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we can hear you good.
Okay, it's Hussein the Brain from Fantasy Couch. And what we call the Raiders defense in fantasy football, if you're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint, it's just a volatile defense. And I'm not an expert on the D like you guys are. You guys, Raider fans. I'm a Niner fan. But I saw the Raiders play much better. Khalil Mack play much better towards the end of the season last year. And I see that totally happening this year with some of those guys you were, not just Khalil Mack, because obviously you can't have just one guy. We kind of saw that in the last game with Von Miller, just kind of one guy on that defense because they were so banged up. So it's going to be a volatile defense, as in there's going to be some games where they give up a ton of points, there's some games where they fail, but I see this defense getting much stronger. And yeah, they got a good shot. My boy Sean Smith, I actually know him in person. He hasn't been playing that well, but hopefully he picks it up. And man, if they can get the lead, kind of how we saw a lot of kind of like how the Colts when they won the Super Bowl, if they have that type of team where when they get the lead and they got that good pass rush going, I definitely think the Raiders have a shot, because if that pass rush is killing it and Derek Carr is killing it, that could be a formula to go really far.
All right, Carolina?
You're taking a look at a defense that has trended. It started off ferocious. I mean, you had communication issues, and that's why the green dot is so important. They took the green dot away from Heaney right at the beginning of the season and put it on Malcolm Smith. He was not prepared for that, and our defense looked clueless out there. I mean, you had Nelson had missed most of OTAs and camp. You had McGill out there, and now we have Joseph out there now. We've had people rotate in and off the line. As we've gotten better, and then putting the dot on Riley, who understands how to call a defense. You cannot take that for granted. The football IQ that he has, he commands and runs that defense. Like I saw it in Denver. Guys were out of place. He runs over, pulls a guy, grabs his jersey, moves him over, moves over to another guy, grabs his jersey, moves him over. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of thing where you can't buy that. You can't get that. That's an intangible. And that's what he brings. And all of a sudden, the defense is starting to really gel. Now, they have not had a real test since they've started to gel. They haven't went up against a premier offense. They're not going to do that in Mexico either. It's going to be in more of the same, strong defense and an offense that is bad. But when we get out of that, we're going to have to. We've got Buffalo coming up. And our defense is going to have a real test against them, and we're going to have a real test against KC again. The biggest thing that concerns me about either Pittsburgh or New England, and if we're in New England and it's snowing, we see a snow game like we did in the Tuck game. This offense doesn't play well on a sloppy field yet. I believe firmly that our KC game our offense just ground to a halt as that field got muddier and sloppier because their timing routes. We have an offense that's built for speed and footing and all of those things. But if those big guys cannot get footing in the trenches, they're just big balls of meat out there that can just slide around and they can be pushed around and be beaten by smaller guys. So as long as we've got a good field, we can beat anybody. We can dominate anybody if we've got a good field. And our defense is going to tighten up. And maybe by the end of the season, it's going to be ranked 15. Right now, it's ranked like 27th, slowly getting better. But is it playing ranked 15 defense or is it playing ranked top 5 defense by the time we hit the playoffs? I expect that we're going to see the defense that we expected on week 1 by week 17, and that's what I'm looking for, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, I mean, everybody makes, I think, a lot of good points. You know, the bottom line is I think we came out of the preseason with the wrong personnel, running the wrong type of defensive alignment. We tried to force the guys that we had into Ken Norton's defense. I think we faced, like Carolina said, an extremely dangerous, a number of extremely dangerous offenses early on that made this defense look really, really bad. But we've seen those same offenses go out week in and week out and make other teams look extremely bad, right? So it's not, just us. I mean, Tennessee is running all over everybody. New Orleans and Atlanta are throwing all over everybody. So, we faced very tough competition without a lot of communication, wrong personnel in there. Hussey said now Khalil Mack is starting to pick it up. Now you've got a guy like Reggie Nelson who understands the offense, the defense is communicating. He doesn't have to come up like Knight has said for months now, since the beginning of preseason. He's not having to worry about everybody else. So, he's vacating his areas and getting beat deep. So all of those things should start to come together, and you take that and throw in Mario Edwards Jr. coming back, Aldon Smith. All he's got to do is rush the quarterback. He doesn't have to come back and be in prime football shape. He's got to come back, go after the quarterback. That's about it. I'm going to open up the phone line, so hang on, everybody, and then we're going to shift it over. Jason, you could go ahead and ask a question, and then we'll follow through down along the line to answer what it is that Jason asked. So here we go. I'm opening up the line. So those of you guys on Facebook, the number is there. The 800 number is there. If you guys want to call in, you can. And I'm going to go ahead. I will. This is going to do this for a second. So hang on while we establish a connection.
Hold while we wait for the others to join.
All right, here we go. So the phone lines are open. Jason, go ahead. Go ahead and throw out the phone number there.
All right. So if you guys want to give us a call tonight, the number is 1-888-912-9846. That's 1-888-912-9846.
And once again, we are looking for our female callers from the Raider Nation. Represent, ladies. Of course, we're always looking for our male callers, but we want to show the rest of the world, all the people watching here. There's 100,000 people on Oakland Raiders Facebook page. So we want to show the world, we want to show the nation that even our ladies, even our Raiderettes are more knowledgeable than most male fans out there. All right, we're going to throw it back over to you, Jace.
All right. And I just want to throw out this quick reminder to everybody that calls into the show tonight on the 1-888-912-9846 number. This is a G-rated show. We cannot have any foul language. There's a lot of kids and a lot of families watching. We want to respect all the families out there and all the young kids that watch the show. So if you do end up cursing, we might have to hang up on you. It's nothing personal. We just have to censor the phone calls. So I just want to throw that reminder out there. Okay, gentlemen. We talked a lot about the defense thus far. One of the biggest topics that's especially been on our show since the beginning of the season was Bill Musgrave and his conservativeness. He's a real conservative play caller. At least he has been up until the last 2 weeks. You saw him really open up his playbook. He became more aggressive. I really love the scheme against Denver. I think he really came out of his shell last week against Denver, and he did a lot. Obviously we ran the ball, something that we haven't done all season in a dominating fashion, but he's also used his tight ends more in the last 2 weeks, and he's also been using the running backs coming out of the backfield on wheel routes and not just these little sit down 2-yard routes that they usually run. What is your thoughts on this Raiders offense and how it's starting to really gain some momentum and open things up? Let's go ahead and start with Hussein.
Well, man, like I was saying before, I think it's really all on Derek Carr. And I know you guys are analyzing all the stuff, which is important, but Derek Carr is one of the best quarterbacks right now in the NFL in real life and in fantasy. And that's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on defenses. I mean, what are you going to do when you're a defense? Like, what, you can't just, okay, we're going to defend Cooper, because to me, Crabtree is basically like a wide receiver 1 as well. Oh, we're just going to defend the run from the left side, Latavius Murray. I mean, you have 3 running backs, and those wheel routes put a ton of pressure on the defense because you have to guard that. It's usually a automatic mismatch. So, man, I'm really excited about Derek Carr. Even though I'm a Niner fan, I like him. Actually, one of us coincidentally played ball with him. He's a real good person in real life too. And, I'm really rooting for this guy. I always want the Raiders to lose, but it's hard to hate on a guy like Derek Carr.
All right, Carolina.
Hussein touched on it really big. When you have a guy like Derek Carr, and make no mistake, he is an MVP candidate. You think about the first half of the season, he's absolutely MVP, and for exactly what Hussein the Brain just said. By having him back there and having his discipline back there. I mean, we're talking 17 touchdowns. We're talking 3 interceptions. 3, folks, 3. And his ability with Cooper out there, with Crabtree out there. And now we're talking about the emergence of Seth Roberts coming in there. Now, Seth has always been kind of a hit or miss guy, but he is becoming clutch. And every time Seth scores a touchdown, the Raiders win, by the way. I mean, that's just a thing. But so now you have that. Now, of course, like Hussein was talking about, you get the wheel routes. You've got a 3-headed monster with a head beast in Latavius Murray. I know a lot of people, just like with Musgrave, give a lot of flack to Murray, but Murray takes the pounding. Murray goes in there and lays the wood to it. He chops the wood. He wears down a defense, and then the scat backs come in, and they can break blocks when the guys are tired. So you've got this thing going on. You saw Richard just take off last week. You saw Murray take off. You saw Washington take off. All of these things are happening. And it's kind of funny. When Musgrave has all of that in front of him, he can call anything he wants to. In fact, Musgrave called the same 2 running plays 10 times in a row, said, stop it. Just go ahead and stop that. And they couldn't. Denver could not stop that. And it all circles back to Derek Carr. But understand this. People have kind of given too much flack to Musgrave because this is Jack's team. It's not like Musgrave's on an island. He's not out there doing his thing. When he puts together a playbook, and says, this is a scheme that we're going to do it against this team, Jack signs off on that. Jack goes over with us. Okay, we want to do this. We want to do that. And so Jack makes that decision on how they want to go. He's the head coach. The buck stops there. So we're getting, as the team is getting more confidence and the line is gelling and Carr is emerging and Murray's running angry and Crabtree and Cooper. I mean, really, where do you stop that? If you're a defensive coordinator, who do you stop? That's legit right there.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on the point of, we've been hard on Bill Musgrave on the show. We don't shy away from that. And it was just a couple of weeks ago I talked about Jack Del Rio took the podium right before the Tampa game, and he was talking about the priority of protecting the football. And that's when I realized, you know what? Bill Musgrave's scheme is pretty much based off Jack Del Rio's philosophy. They're kind of nurturing Carr Long, keeping him calm, and they're just protecting the football. But I think what we saw the last 2 weeks in Tampa and against Denver is the fact that they're trusting Carr more and unleashing him a little bit more. And then you got the offensive line that's built to run the football. We started running the football. If this continues, we're going to be a juggernaut and really hard to stop. Pirate, what are your thoughts?
We're having some issues here, some technical difficulties. I'm not exactly sure. Lily Sane said something about a bad picture. Some people are asking for the number. We got somebody to call in from Arlington, and then they kind of popped out. So I'm just not exactly sure. Is it a bad feed that we're getting? Could somebody comment in the comment section? Is it hard to see us? What do they mean by the picture? I'm looking at it on Facebook. It doesn't seem to be that bad, but I'm not watching live. So whoever just called from Arlington, we just lost the live feed.
Well, that probably could have been the problem. Could have been just internet connection.
See if you can't go live from your side, dude.
I don't know if they're going to be able to hear us, though. They'll just hear me.
Why would they?
It looks good on my end.
Right. I don't got speakers.
All right, let me try. Let me pop it open again.
Okay. All right. So while Pirate works on some of the technical difficulties, let's go ahead. We touched on Bill Musgrave a little bit. Let's go ahead and Carolina, you brought up Latavius Murray. Me and Pirate talk about Latavius Murray all the time. You know, we got that one big game that we usually get from him a year. Last year was versus Cleveland. He just had a breakout game against Denver. I think the key for Murray moving forward is to be able to be consistent and kind of put up those kind of numbers and run that way for the next 7 weeks. What is your thoughts on Murray, and do you believe that he's going to be able to put together continuously those type of performance moving forward?
As long as he's not injured. You know, he did go through a little bit of turf toe, and that explains his play against the Ravens a little bit, because that's where he got injured with them. But take a look at this run game without Murray in there. When you just go with the two scat backs, and believe me, I like D Wiggle and I like Jay Rish, but they're 5'8" guys. I mean, yeah, they're a load. Don't get me wrong, but without Murray getting in there and his 230, 6'3" guy going in there and pounding on them with the big lineman, it's a different. He adds that dimension to the team. So when you see, okay, well, he only got 51 yards, and he only did this, and he only did that. I mean, he's rushing. Before last week, he had a 4.0 average running the ball. That's good. Go ahead and take a look at Melvin Gordon. Everybody's like, oh, Melvin Gordon's awesome. 4.0 rushing average. He's just running the ball a lot. So I think a lot of people have a lot of confirmation bias. But as long as Murray continues to pound the rock and we're getting 4 yards of carry from him, if we get 4 yards of carry from him, we're good, because that means D Wiggle is going to come in and break one off for 30. That means Jay Rish is going to come and break one off for 30. I mean, those guys are leading the league right now in over 25-yard rushes, and it's because of the fact that Murray comes in there and just takes the beating for him and wears that defense down. People overlook that when they say, "Wow, Murray's not doing this." Murray hasn't fumbled the ball. You know, Murray rarely drops the ball. People think, "Oh, he can't catch." No, he can catch. You know, I mean, Jay Rish has dropped the ball. D Wiggles fumbled the ball. Murray hasn't done either one of those things. So back to protecting the ball the way Jack wants it to do. He's doing his job. So I think, and then you're showing. We saw him do 20 carries, and that's because he's fresh. As the season progresses, you're going to see Murray's carries go down a little bit up, but they're going to make sure that when we get into the final stretch, that he's not wore out. And that's all that matters, because all these stats in the regular season are gone when we get to the playoffs. As long as he's healthy there, I'm good.
All right. Correct. Hussein?
Well, we'll talk about this three-headed monster. Watching the last game, I personally was most impressed by Jalen Richard. And I mean, obviously Latavius was the star, but I was looking at this guy like, wow, he's explosive. And I mean, I'm looking at his 40 time. It's not even that fast, but he's fast on the field. And I'm really excited about him for the future, but really I can't bank on it, because the next game, I also have a feeling that, would you guys call him D Wiggle? DeAndre? Yeah, D Wiggle can blow up the next game. And Latavius Murray, you're totally right about that. He's the guy. I think he's going to be the key to winning, because if that guy's pounding it on you and he keeps getting those hard yardage, the defense is going to get frustrated and worn out. But this is truly a three-headed monster. Don't look at the stats. Really, any running back can blow up any week. And if I don't know, as a projection standpoint from fantasy, who's going to blow up this week and who to start, obviously I'd say Latavius, but I can't bank on it. Neither can the opposing defense. And man, like I said, any one of these three guys can blow up any game. And yeah, I'd go Latavius as the number one guy, but really, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the one thing that we keep scratching our head at. It's just with us. I want to see some consistency from Murray. But I had said this in the last few weeks. If you go back and watch the tape, every time that he's running out of the shotgun formation and doing a lot of these draws, he's not that good. But you line that guy up in the I formation, he is a different back, especially if his mindset is to run hard enough. So I know that we're really hoping for him to really step up his game. Pete, how's things going in on the technical side? I know you'd like to get on that question if you.
Yeah, no, they're fine. They're fine on this side. I think just a lot of people don't like I don't know if it's hard because we keep losing numbers. So let's try to keep him short, succinct, and let's kind of bounce him back and forth. But because the attention span just like goes up and down. In my opinion, like I said, Latavius Murray is a goal line back. I've said it before. He's a guy that you use on inside your goal line to 20 because he blocks and he doesn't fumble as much unless he gets knocked out. And you use him in the opponent's 20 because he has a feel for the goal line. He's got some decent power, and he can get into the end zone. You use the two twins between the 20s because they are so explosive and powerful. I think that's why when all of them run in tandem, you get this really great dynamic. When they're running separately or you're trying to force one to do too much, none of them are all-around types of backs. Okay, let me get back here to the Facebook feed page. Why don't we really quickly, again, Jason, throw out the number there?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the phone number tonight is 1-888-912-9846. That phone number is 1-888-912-9846.
Yep. Go ahead and give us a call if you want to ask us a question. At 6 o'clock, we'll be going to break, and then we'll be inviting a couple more guests on. So if you guys want to ask a question, either a fantasy question that you can ask, or you want to ask Carolina, myself, or the night a question, or you just want to represent the Raider Nation. We see a lot of people on here posting out where they're calling in from. Give us a call, get online, let us hear your voice, tell us what you think. Okay, so at this point, again, I just want to kind of throw this out. Let me ask you from a fantasy perspective, why don't you give us a little bit of information about this football team, where you think certain players are going to continue to ascend, up-and-comers, what you think are some of the weaknesses on this football team?
Well, I'm looking at the Raiders' schedule right here. We got Week 17 at Broncos and Week 14 at Kansas City. And this last game was probably the biggest statement game I saw from the Raiders. Just incredible performance. But I think the true test, like how long, how they're going to last in the playoffs, is going to be Week 14 and Week 17. And just like we're talking about the three-headed monster, the running backs, I said I can't really project who's going to be good. I can't bank on it. It's kind of the same thing with Cooper and Crabtree. And then you have Seth Roberts, who I see could be wide open. And before the season, I was kind of hoping Clive Walford would be that guy, just running down in the middle, in the middle of the field, running down and being wide open. But I think that's going to be more Seth Roberts. Not really fantasy relevant. You can't bank on that. There's like 60 good wide receivers in fantasy, so it's not really a guy you want to pick up or anything. But man, this offense is great, and like I said, it really runs through Derek Carr. And because Derek Carr had a bad game, do not sell on this. Not almost all the fans listening right now are Raider fans, so they're not going to sell out Derek Carr. But just in case you were wondering, should I sell Derek Carr? No, don't sell on him. This guy's a real deal.
All right. So in saying that, with Derek Carr, Derek Carr's numbers, again, are even with, it wasn't even an off week. He took what the defense gave him. He was showing the ability to throw the ball around the field, and the running game was just on point. what do you guys expect from moving forward with Derek Carr as far as the passing game goes? Do you think that Carr could actually throw for 5,000 yards this season? Let's start with Carolina.
Ooh, 5,000 yards. I think that if he was playing on a team that was always behind, then yeah, and he could do it. I don't see that happening this time around because this is Jack Del Rio's team. Jack Del Rio wants to run the ball. He wants to have a great running game, and he wants to play great defense. He said this since he's got here. So I mean, that's his philosophy. When he gets ahead, he wants his defense to win the game for him. So what he's gonna do is when he gets ahead, he's gonna run the ball. He's all about protecting the football. He doesn't want to put the ball in Carr's hands and get an interception or something like that unless he has to put the ball in Carr's hands. So you take a look at against the Tampa Bay Bucks when we basically shot ourselves in the foot 23 times. He had to throw the ball. He had to keep throwing the ball. But then you take a look at Denver, and we got ahead of Denver. We absolutely were dominating them. I mean, even the offensive line got mad because he threw a ball. I mean, they were like, "Don't throw the ball. It was their game, the offensive line." So 5,000 yards, no. I mean, is he going to get 4,000 yards? Yeah, he's going to get 4,000 yards. I believe that. Is he going to get about 30 touchdowns? Yeah. I would be surprised if he got more than 8 interceptions for the season. I mean, that's really what we want to see. We want to see a real good spread. We want to see good, dangerous to the opponents, dangerous throws for the opponents. I mean, take a look at what he did against Denver. I mean, they basically had to mug our receivers. What was it, like 5, 6 pass interferences and 3 of them, right on the goal line because he does that to the opposing defense. And it's like they have to mug the receiver. They can't just let him go. So Carr's an amazing player. His development over the last 3 years is fantastic. So he's going to be fantastic this year, but not 5,000 fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, it was a bit of a high mark. I wanted to see what you would respond to that, but I do believe that he'll hit around 4,000. Pirate, what's it looking like on the phone call situation? Anything happening? Any activity?
No, we don't have anything at this point.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the phone number once again is 1-888-912-9846. If you'd like to give the show a call, that's 1-888-912-9846. Hussein, do you want to jump in on that conversation about Carr and his passing numbers?
Definitely. Yeah. 5,000. It's hard to reach just period for any quarterback. So I don't see that, but let me tell you guys the number one way, this is the number one secret experts like me make fantasy projections. Okay. And that's to look at the over under and draw it from the game script. And I'm looking at this schedule here and okay, let's just say he's got a good shot at getting 5,000. We know it's tough. I see him getting 4,500 actually. And I see him throwing actually a ton of touchdowns. So more of a touchdown guy than get 5,000. I see him, over 33 touchdowns. I'd say is more likely than 5,000 yards. But we got week 15 at the Chargers. We got week 16 versus the Colts. Now, I don't know how Vegas is going to make those over-unders, the total points projected for those 2 games, but I know those have shootout potential right there. We already saw what happened with the Chargers, and we know what the Colts do. The terrible defense, and Luck throws the ball all over. So if he's going to get there, it's going to be because of those 2 games when Derek Carr throws for 800 yards in those 2 games. So those 2 games, if you like offenses, that's going to be it. I don't know if they can stop the Colts. I think Rivers is on fire this year as well. So those 2 can be huge shootouts. I'm more interested in how they're going to do against the Chiefs. I think that's the biggest. Can the Raiders overcome the Chiefs week 14? That's going to be a huge indication. You guys already overcame the Broncos week 9, which is huge. So that's what I'm looking for. Week 14, 15, 16, and then 17 to finish out with the Broncos.
Right on.
Yeah. If the way I look at it, I mean, I look at it very similarly, weather permitting, obviously, because any of those games can have rain or, present situations where you don't necessarily throw the ball. I think that's the mistake that they made against Kansas City. I think the next time they go to Kansas City, they're going to try to run the ball the way they did on Denver. Kansas City's much stouter against the run than Denver, but I think they're still going to try to get in there and impose their will because they just got knocked around in that game. Series of bad calls. But like you said, Andrew Luck toe-to-toe, Phillip Rivers toe-to-toe. Heck, you might even see games with, Carolina, even though that defense is much stouter, or even Buffalo. Ryan's going to bring everything that he can. Those are two unorthodox offenses. But one thing I like about this team, one thing that makes me feel really resilient, is we faced so many different types of offenses. We faced the Tennessee offense where they're going to run the ball, pound it at you, have an athletic option-style quarterback. So we're a little bit ready for what we're going to see in Carolina. We're a little bit ready for what we're going to see in Buffalo. They faced a wide-open aerial assault, coming out of New Orleans. So we've got an idea of what's going to happen against Andrew Luck, and then some more traditional styles of games. We've seen Phillip Rivers and. So that's the great thing about this team as a whole. But this is a much tougher schedule as we're kind of moving in, not so much so in terms of just continuous shootouts, because again, as the weather starts to change, it's going to be a little bit tougher for teams to just do whatever it is that they want to do. And we got a lot of games, at home. So in my opinion, 5,000, that's going to be tough. But I didn't think he was going to throw for 500 against Tampa Bay either. So, who knows?
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to be taking a quick break in about 5 minutes. So why don't we go ahead and take this opportunity? Carolina, why don't you let the audience know where they could find you and some of your writings?
You can take a look at Last Word on profootball.com, or you can check out Silver and Black Pride. I do post over there. It's a great fan post place. But my writings are now exclusively, basically my articles are exclusively on Last Word on profootball.com. Just look for Scott Winter. That's my name. And I did 2 articles a week, just depending. In fact, my latest article is a article on Kenny Stabler not getting the gifts of the Hall of Fame. But none of the deceased inductees get a jacket, get a ring. And so we started a change.org signature thing. We're over 1,000 signatures. I've spoke with Kendra and Kendra Stabler Moyes, who's one of the Snake's daughters. And we've gotten a big coalition of people together. I spoke to Cliff Branch. I spoke to Nolan Harrison. I mean, these are people that have signed on board to try to get the gifts for Kenny Stabler. I mean, Reggie White went in deceased, inducted, and his wife and his children, they didn't get a ring. They didn't get the ring or jacket. Junior Seau didn't get the ring or jacket. This is something that I didn't even know about until last week. So that's what we're promoting this go around now.
All right. Okay. We really appreciate you coming on. Hussein in the Brain, what can they find you and all your fantasy football news?
Well, just fantasycouch.com and at Fantasy Couch on Twitter and Instagram. We also have a Fantasy Couch YouTube channel where I host a weekly waiver wire pickup show. Just, man, everybody's winning when they watch that show. It's like no other waiver wire pickup show. They just give you 5 popular names and push it out. I usually give about 50 names, including defenses and kickers. And Janikowski was one of my sleeper kickers before the season started. He hasn't really been doing that well, but he had he had one good week though, right? He did kill it. So I include every position, and it's like no other show. So check me out. Send me a message or tweet at me. I read every single comment on YouTube, every single tweet, every single Instagram comment.
Right on.
Yeah, and you also have a Facebook page, right? Which is Fantasy Couch, right?
Yeah, everything Fantasy Couch. So anything on social media is Fantasy Couch, whether at Fantasy Couch or Facebook.com/Fantasy Couch. Yeah.
Okay, well, just for the Facebook audience here that we do have, you guys go over there and go ahead and like those guys up. Carolina, do you have a Facebook page that you link back to?
Actually, I don't. I'm working on one, but it's
Okay.
It's a lot of work. But
Okay.
no, you can check me out on Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Okay, what's your Twitter handle?
At Carolina at Carolina_Raider.
Okay, at Carolina_Raider to go ahead and follow him. And once again, if you're looking for some fantasy stuff, the Fantasy Couch is a great place. You know, you listen to him here. He obviously has a good understanding and a firm grasp. He's looking at things through a different set of metrics, I think, than the regular fan base does. And that's something, again, that we want to bring to the Raider Nation. We don't want you guys just to think, oh, man, we're going to smash him in the mouth. We're going to do this. How are we going to do it? Why are we going to do it? What are the things that stand in our way? What are some of the intangibles that we sort of have to think about? And I think he delivered that in a very eloquent way. And, of course, Carolina Raider, fantastic insight. And once again, follow his article, the Kenny Stabler stuff. Again, we should all be up in arms about that. But we're going to go ahead and take a break now. We're going to shut off the live feed. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. So we will be posting up the W2W Review Midseason Report Part 3 with our 2 new guests when we return. All right.
All right. So once again, on the YouTube side, we'd like to thank once again Sports Couch, Fantasy Sports Couch, as well as Carolina Raider for joining us today, talking some Raider football. And we're also going to be jumping right out of here, and we'll be right back with a couple new guests. So once again, guys, thanks, and stay tuned.
Okay.